So I had some questions about what technologies my home energy system uses. So I did this quick drawing. So the core of it all is the mosquito broker, MQTT broker. So that's the core source of truth for everything on the system. All data passes through the MQTT broker, and that's a good system that lets me centralize all of my data so I can pull it out to a bunch of different places and make use of it. So as for the graphing, the human output stuff, so Telegraph subscribes to a bunch of information from the MQTT broker and puts it into InfluxDB. So that's a time series database that just stores a time and a data point and some tags and such. So Telegraph takes all the data, puts it into InfluxDB. InfluxDB is then feeds that information into Grafana, which is the page that does the actual graphs. So this thing, that's Grafana there. So Grafana goes via Nginx, which is how it gets to the internet. So when I'm on the internet or on my own LAN, going via Nginx, and my certificates are handled by Let's Encrypt. Every one of these boxes is its own Docker container, and they all run on a old Dell server I've got sitting downstairs running Debian. The ones with the red boxes around them are custom Jobbies that I've made specifically for my purpose. They're all open source. You can use them if you want, but they'll be of varying usefulness to you. So Amber to MQTT manages talking to Amber's API, Amber being my energy provider, my energy retailer. So it talks to Amber, reads their API, and translates that information and writes it into MQTT. So the real-time pricing on my graphs comes from Amber, through Amber to MQTT, into the broker, through Telegraph, through Influx, into Grafana to be viewed. I had to do some maths to some of that data, like some averaging and standard deviation, moving average stuff. So I wrote Amber Averager, which actually that arrow there is wrong. It actually gets its information from MQTT. It's wrong. Go away, you wrong arrow. So it reads information from MQTT and then calculates it, derives it, and writes the derived data to Telegraph. Wait, that's not right either. Oh, I'm terrible at dot diagrams. Oh, that's the wrong color. It writes it to InfluxDB. And so, yeah, there is InfluxDB has a preferred analytics package, capacitor, I think it was called. It's a piece of junk. It is awful to use. Ugh, don't touch it. So in terms of other stuff, so the inverter itself, the SunGrow SH5K20, I've pulled off the Wi-Fi dongle for security reasons, and I've put a cabled connection to it, and it talks Modbus TCP. And I've got two things talking to it at the moment. They're kind of redundant. I've got PV stats, which reads some Modbus registers and writes the contents to the MQTT broker. But since I've started using PV stats, I had to do some other stuff. I had to do some bidirectional stuff. I need to be able to write to the inverter when I want to start charging the battery or when I want to prevent the battery being discharged. So I needed a bidirectional control of the inverter, but PV stats is only a one-way thing. It only writes the stats from the inverter to MQTT. So I created Modbus for MQTT, which is a relatively useful general purpose tool, and it talks Modbus TCP and converts it to MQTT. It's got a nice YAML interface. It's well tested. If you need to do Modbus TCP to MQTT, I highly recommend you check that out on GitHub. It's quite useful. For the actual logic, I'm using Node-RED. So it lets me build sort of logic flows where this happens, then this happens. It's kind of limiting and annoying, but it beats fiddling around with Python scripts each time I need to make a minor tweak to something here or there. Node-RED it links up to Nginx for external access, and all my automation logic is done via that. And I've also got Home Assistant for notifications. So I've got Home Assistant for talking to Google on the internet, for turning lights on and off and that kind of thing. But it also can do notifications to your phone quite easily. And so Node-RED has Home Assistant integrations. So I guess there's a direct link that bypasses my MQTT broker. So Node-RED talks to Home Assistant to say, hey, we're force charging the battery from the grid now. Send a message to the mobile phone to say this is happening. So I think that covers it. So yeah, all of this is Dockerized, and using Docker Compose, and it all works pretty well. There's a lot of moving parts. This is kind of why like commercial home automation is never going to take off anytime soon, because all of this nonsense is kind of necessary to do what I'm doing. Amber are working on like a smart node or some sort of things. I'm sure it's got smart and electricity in it, like electro brain or something. And it is designed to sort of sit here, talk to there, and talk to there through to them, and then control your inverter based on the grid or something. I don't know, but that's still in the works. Also, the CEC, or the Clean Energy Council, and AMO, and National Energy Market, and so on and so forth, are all talking about building something that does basically this, but that works for everybody, not just hyper nerds. So yeah, the practical upshot of all this is go and check out Modbus for MQTT on GitHub. It is, I think it might be useful. Oh God, I've dragged my Modbus arrow. I put it back. Okay, bye bye.